Yeah, so tell us how you got into the work that you do. I've been reading some fabulous things about the transformations that you achieve. You know, you've got lots of qualifications and different therapies and different ways in which you help people. Why do you do it? What's the story behind what's important for you, and some of your experience, I guess, as to why you do this work?
Yeah, I find it's really important to be able to help people on a deeper level. And when you see the transformations that people have because of the work I've done, it's incredible to witness. And they're not my transformations, obviously. And what I say to people is it's not a done-to service. I don't do things for them. They have to want to make the change happen, and I facilitate that change with them. Yeah, so it's not me that's really doing anything. I'm just like helping coach them through those transformations themselves. They're doing the work themselves.
Sure. Yeah, for any lasting change, I guess, it has to come from the person to make those changes and thought processes, I guess, and
That's right.
Working through fears and all that kind of thing. So what have you struggled with, you know, at the beginning, and what brought you to the work, you know?
Sure. So that came from within me, and struggles that I'd had growing up, and difficult childhood, you know, poor parenting, feeling disconnected to the people around me, and I just knew there was something bigger. So I went on a journey myself, and I had a lot of support from, I met an NLP practitioner right back in 98, I want to say, and I had treatment at that point in time, but I didn't know it was NLP. I thought it was just hypnosis, and that really changed things for me. At the time, I was saying I was living on a chessboard.
Tell us what NLP is, just for our listeners.
Yeah, sure.
Just describe that a little bit.
So NLP is just incredible. It's Neuro-Linguistic Programming. The neuro is about your brain and your physical structure of your brain, your mind. And the linguistics is about how you talk to yourself and how you talk to others. It's about the communication. And the programming is about your attitudes, your behaviours, your beliefs. And so that's what NLP means, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And your brain operates like a model of prediction. So it's always trying to assess risks and work out what's going to happen. And it cannot possibly take in all the information that's available to it. So it has a way of decoding the perceptions that come into it. It's got a reticular activating system, or what we call it the domain, and it assesses whether it comes in through your perceptions or not, and it's already sort of built around your map of the world and your childhood experience, and all that information gets filtered, so it either gets deleted so it doesn't get through, it gets distorted so it kind of fits the model of your world, and it gets distorted. Did I say distorted? Deleted, distorted and generalised is the other one. Yeah. And so that's how the information gets into your brain. So you can see that you've already got barriers in place even just before you start to look out into the world and perceive everything through all of your senses.
So this is really individualistic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because our perceptions, like you say, is going to be based on our experiences and how a child makes sense of their environment. Yeah. So the individual approach is going to be really important here, I guess.
That's right, because not one of us has got the same map of the world. We've all got different interpretations of what's happening around us. And so your model of the world will reflect on your behaviours, beliefs and values, and so therefore you can't possibly treat everybody the same.
Okay.
So Neuro-Linguistic Programming is a way of, it has lots of different strategies. So firstly, it's about building rapport and really understanding and collaborating and working out what's going on for that person. We do that with a lot of behavioural reads, facial expressions, eye movements, body language, all of those things, and the words that people say as well. Okay. So it's all really important. It's all just gathering information about that person and understanding exactly what it is that's going on for them.
That sounds really good. You get really getting into, so that explains the longevity of it, because
Yes.
you're really getting to the root sources and helping them understand why and how they think the way and feel the way that they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to, I interrupted you. You were telling us about, a bit about your story.
Yeah, so I suffered with some phobias, and that treatment when I was in my 20s really helped me to overcome them. So when I was describing how I felt like my life was on a chessboard and it was checkmated, I didn't have any avenues to go across to get past them. And then I had that treatment, and it released a lot of things, and I was able to build my career at that point in time. So that was really useful. So I always had that in the back of my mind, how powerful that was.
Was that fears then, or what was it? What was it that was released? Would you say? What was that turning point for you?
It was fear. Yeah, definitely fear. Just being able to overcome that, because fears, we've all got it, haven't we? And you have that saying, don't we? You can feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, a lot of people can't. So the work that I do a lot of work on, there's 5 negative emotions: fear, anger, sadness, hurt and guilt. And the work that I do with NLP and the coaching really does get into those deeper levels of those 5 key emotions, because around those emotions are a lot of negative self-belief, negative self-talk, restrictions, and so when you free off those emotions, those barriers release themselves.
Yeah, give us some examples of the sort of things that how we speak to ourselves, because it's shocking, isn't it, really? We would never speak to anybody else in the way that we do ourselves sometimes. So give us a few examples of, your experience of working with people.
So, you're focusing on women over 40. So that is a really difficult transition time for women. Often their self-talk is they look in the mirror and they don't like what they look at. They're remembering back to when they were 19 and maybe had no children and whatever else, and then you're seeing wrinkles that weren't always there. So there's the appearance side, but also then there's often a lot of things that is going on with hormones and relationships, and at that stage of life you've got maybe dependent adult children, you've got dependent children, but you've also maybe got dependent adult parents as well to look after. So in their world there's a lot going on. And actually what I'm finding is those women are not putting themselves first, they're putting everybody else first, they're last. So it's a way of, the work I do is empowering them to listen to themselves and actually realise. The other statement is, when you're on an aeroplane, you've got to put your own air mask on first, haven't you, before you can put anybody else's on.
Yeah.
Prioritise yourself, self-care, self-leadership.
Yeah, it is common, isn't it? It's so common how people lose their own identity. They're a daughter, they're a mother, they're a wife, or a partner, and they lose their identity. So there's a whole building of that sense of self, I guess, where, because often, and I know that you'll relate to this, if you ask a woman in her 40s sometimes, you'll say, well, what do you want? What's important to you? And they'll go, I don't know. Never thought, because they've never really thought about it.
Yeah, exactly. But there'll be something in them that's not sitting quite right, and that's when they come to me. And I'll start by chatting to them and ask them those kind of questions. And it turns out that there's a lot going on, and they don't feel like they've got the right level of support to be able to take action, or they don't feel like they can prioritise their own selves to be able to make changes happen, and sometimes they just think that that's their lot and they've just got to live with it. But even just holding on to that is quite distressing for them. You just have to look at the amount of numbers of women in that age bracket who go on antidepressants when the hormones change, all that kind of thing. And actually really maybe just some NLP coaching could free off a lot of that stuff. And
I was offered antidepressants when I was going through perimenopause, which is the whole start of this journey and why I do the podcast. And the 6 pillars of living medicine, or life and connection, really. So women don't have time because they're so caught up in, people are stressed, and there's that sense of being out of control. You know, they're worried about their children, they're worried about their parents. You know, they might be worried about work because the boss now needs something extra.
Yeah.
And so there's no sense of control anywhere, which then, you know, can be the precursor to anxiety, can't it? And depression, because then comes a feeling of, I'm not doing anything well, I'm not getting anything right, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, and exactly that. So I'm not good enough is one of the biggest limiting beliefs I work with. There'll be a lot of tiers of things on top of that, but when I get down to the basics, a lot of people carry I'm not good enough. It's really quite common. In fact, probably I'd say about 80% of the population carry it I'm not good enough, deeper level of misbelief about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any version of that really. And you mentioned working with anger as well. And I was thinking that sometimes what goes hand in hand with anger is suppression.
Yes.
Suppression of our needs, suppression of what we really think, or, you know, we sometimes feel that we've got to go a lot, you know, people pleasing.
Yeah.
It really, we run out of patience with it eventually and start to get a bit irritable, you know, when we run out of steam because we're running around after everybody else. And I think in our 40s and 50s, we start to question it a little bit.
We do, yeah. But the answers aren't necessarily readily available. And so I run a workshop on imposter syndrome, and I also do work with the other thing that you've just said. And I'm in that age bracket, so thoughts are popping in and then they just disappear, and I just have to go with it. But you said imposter syndrome and you said suppression. So those are two things that I work with quite a lot. So the imposter syndrome, I run workshops. People can get a workbook and I talk them through how to get rid of imposter syndrome, because actually what we're understanding is that fear response. It's a protection mechanism. Like we are human beings. We're of an animal kingdom, and so in our primordial build up to the psychology that we've got now, we were looking out to make sure we got away from that saber-toothed tiger. We were looking out for that other tribe that wanted to steal our berries and our women. You know, that's the kind of like the neurology that we've still got. And so the imposter syndrome comes back from that place of protection. And if you're carrying a belief about yourself that you're not good enough, your imposter syndrome is going to be off the scale. And so by understanding what's happening for that person, I can work backwards and try and explain those things, and then we can shed them off with lots of different NLP and hypnosis techniques and just good old coaching, really. So it's really impressive and really powerful.
I think it's really common. Imposter syndrome is so common.
Yeah.
I did read some statistics a while ago on that. It's something like 80% of people do have imposter syndrome to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And like you say, that makes sense because it's in our survival mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and some people will relate more to imposter syndrome than feeling not good enough, because that can be a little bit more subconscious. You know, a lot of people don't really have that conscious thought that they feel not good enough. But when you start to talk about imposter syndrome and feeling anxious, you know, that they're not going to get everything done at work, and that they're not quite...
Well, that's exactly right. That's the superficial stuff that's happening on the top of the tier. When you take those tiers away, you get back down to the root cause, which is the feeling of not being good enough.
Or whatever I do, it's never enough in our culture now.
Yeah, but even if I was to ask you that, if you were a client, I would ask you that, and I would probe into that, and then I would get down to the deeper level, which would probably be your statement like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's loads of different strategies to help overcome that, and just getting a different understanding of it, because your conscious beliefs and your unconscious beliefs can be two different things. And so... people pleasing, again, another great example of what women carry in the 40s. They feel like they've got all those obligations upon them problems to solve for other people, and to be there for other people. But people pleasing is another is from a different aspect of that I'm not good enough, because you are getting your credibility and your credit from helping other people, and that's where you're getting your self-worth
validation.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which we all need, don't we? We all need that. What else would you say? What are women looking for? What, especially in their 40s and 50s, what do you think they're really looking for?
There's often pivots in careers. There's often changes in relationships. For myself personally, I've been married for 28 years, but last month I decided to end the marriage after all that time because it was no longer fitting with who I am, and my identity had changed. So that's quite common. I think the average age for divorce for women in the UK is 48.
Wow.
So it seems like this age group is needing extra help in sort of rediscovering themselves and being able to move and live more authentically with their true selves and discover what that actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's powerful, isn't it? That transformation of really, because what you're describing there is that you've grown.
Yeah.
You've grown in a way that you don't have the same values, I guess, as your ex, but a very difficult decision all the same. Let's not minimise it. It's that's a huge step, isn't it, to sort of embrace what you really want and step outside of that, because it's complicated, isn't it? You've got family, at the edge of everything, and that it's a huge step. So I'm sure it's a mixture of emotions, sort of empowering, and maybe liberating in a way, but also scary and all those things when you embark on something that's really, and there's nobody else that can really judge that for you either or help you make that decision. It's only you that can really come to a decision like that, isn't it?
That is true. And that's why it's really important that the people that I work with, and I describe it as being above the line. So above the line, you take accountability, ownership and responsibility. That's where you see solutions and you want to solve problems and you take action. Below the line, that's where you've got blame, excuses and denial, and you see problems and you wait for other people to make decisions for you, etc. And my clients are tested just through conversations to find out whether they are above or below the line, and that's how I know that the work that I'll do with them will be of use to them, because they have to be above the line, because it's not, like, again, it's not me who's doing the work for them, it's themselves, so they've got to be taking ownership, responsibility and accountability. And in this age bracket, when you've got all of those different things that are going on, all those social demands and inner restrictions that you've placed upon yourself, like you might not even know that you've done it. So when you're starting to build that awareness, I say awareness is curative, because it allows you space to really sort of think and feel and digest and reset. All of those things.
Sounds so simple, doesn't it? Just make a little bit of space and time, but that is the commodity that no one has.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive as well, isn't it? Because I think we get into that mode of doing, going, more, needing more, the culture of social media, and also how we're conditioned really growing up, that we're always striving for more.
Yeah.
So why would you sit quietly in space and do nothing? That there's a whole perception around that as well, isn't there? Well, if I do nothing, I'm certainly not going to be successful, and those kind of fears. I'm certainly not going to be good enough if I take my foot off the gas and sort of take the pressure off myself. But actually, that's where the good stuff is, isn't it? And I read that about your work, that space is so important, isn't it? But people struggle with that.
Yes.
And when they do sit down, the mind races, and so that's a tricky one, really tricky, isn't it?
Yes, it can be, but it's all about deciding whether it's the right thing for you to do. So you can decide to carry on your rat race if you want to. That's entirely fine. Great, if that's what you want. But if there's something that's holding you back and you're feeling conflicted about something, then you've got options, haven't you? You either live with that feeling and carry on feeling uncomfortable in that discomfort, or you do something about it. And that's where you take ownership for what you want to do, and then allow yourself to go down the route of discovery about who you authentically are.
Mm. I like what you've said there, because I think that, you know, we are looking for a quick fix, aren't we? And that's, again, you know, what seems to be available to us. It's always do this program. It's, you know, it's 6 weeks worth and you're done, you know, happy ever after. When in reality, any therapy or any journey of growth takes work.
Yes.
And it's not easy, because it does involve looking at yourself and what you want to change, really. And for as long as we are looking outside of ourselves and that external validation or the external how people impact us, which is really important, and that's a whole piece of work, isn't it, to explore how we are reliant on that codependency in sometimes turns up. So I think that's really important what you said there, that it is a process of looking at yourself and seeing, you know, there's that old saying of doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's always a choice. We've all got choices. So it just depends on whether they want to work with me and let me help them on that journey. And, you know, transformations can happen just in a simple conversation. But sometimes they do need a little bit of time to filter down and settle in, because you know, some of them are really big and transformational and have a wider impact than just on your mindset and how you present yourself. It can, like for my situation, change a lot about your life. So it's not just about, you know, coming into a room going, I need to make a decision about a relationship, and then leaving going, right, I've made my decision, and then it's the congruency of that whole process needs to be considered, and the bigger impacts, and so some of those things can take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think in that process there's a lot of back and forth, isn't there, with decisions like that, and kind of linking in that imposter syndrome stuff as well. Yeah. Oh gosh, you know, even after we may have made a decision like that, there will be those feelings of doubt, you know, that come after that. Oh, am I making the right decision? Because it is such a huge impact, and all the fears then that come in. Yeah.
And we are creatures of habit. So our neurology is built so that we repeat the same thoughts. Like 90% of the things that you think today, you'll have thought about them yesterday. And so those neurological pathways are really strong. So the neurons fire in that direction, and that's what they do. With NLP and the work that we do to change things up a bit and confuse the brain patterns, it makes it, there's other pathways available. So that really breaks down bad habits, it breaks down phobias, it breaks down anxieties, it brings choice. And so you don't always have to think the same or be the same. You can actually achieve the change that you want to change. And change in itself is difficult for a lot of people. You've got to step outside your comfort zone. You've got to reimagine yourself doing different things. You've got to build that repetition pattern up in order for it to sink in. And, you know, there's a change curve that we know about, Cotter's change curve, and the different stages of change that we go through, the denial to the acceptance, and the anger's in there, isn't it? You know, so change is difficult for humans. And at the end of the day, are we human doings or are we human beings?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, thinking about change, that, you know, you and I are in business, and the nature of that is lots of change, isn't it? You know, as we go along, you're always, something's always changing. And that's always uncomfortable. It's always scary. It's sometimes leaving something else behind that may have worked for a time, but you know that the next right thing to do is something else that you haven't done before.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's tricky. I find that difficult. And, you know, the imposter syndrome thoughts, they're going crazy. What do you find in your work? What are the fears? What are people afraid of in going through this journey of growth, I guess?
Yeah, so often I find a fear of failure is probably the biggest and the deepest level. So again, I talk about superficial reasons, which I get thrown at quite often. And I think that's the difference between a good coach and maybe a counsellor and a coach that's got hypnosis and NLP, because we can hear the surface level language, but actually there's a deeper presentation there. So when people are talking about the fears, they might say it's well, you know, I'm worrying about the impact, what my boss will think, and then I'll delve deeper into that. Right. Does it really matter what your boss thinks? What does it matter about what you think about yourself?
Yeah. So fear of looking silly, looking stupid, getting it wrong. And in reality, we do learn by our mistakes, don't we? When we look back at the things that we messed up, they have formed part of who we are now. Yeah. And what was that for you? What do you think? What were your lessons along the way that really made you passionate about the work that you do now? What was there? You know, because often we sort of find along the way, that's not it. That's definitely not it. You know, whatever mistakes or things that you found difficult, I suppose, and challenging on your journey.
It's a really good question. I've got lots of thoughts coming into my mind. At this point in time, the biggest change for me and the biggest acceptance of change is the breakdown of the marriage. Which was actually long overdue, which I just wasn't brave enough to make that decision earlier. Yeah. And I think that's quite common as well for women in this age group to actually get to this point in time and know that that's the need to move to a different way of living the life.
Yeah. Did you know that? Because I guess I'm just thinking about listeners who... was that clear to you before that really the marriage is over, or is it only when you look back that you think, yeah, this was probably over long before?
Yeah.
Or did you know?
I did know. Yeah, I did know. And and it's difficult, you know, when you've got children, you've got family, you've got social lives. Sometimes in those occasions, and what I'm getting the validation from other people as well while I've been going through my journey, is that I describe it as the problem being smaller than the solution. So the solution being to leave with a child and the finances and the jobs and everything else. The solution was harder than actually staying in the problem. So now I got to a point where I realised the problem is a lot harder to cope with than the solution.
This episode is sponsored by me. Super excited. The book is now out. You can find the link in the show notes. This book, I am so chuffed with it. It's born out of experience over the years, sitting in front of women, getting to know what they really struggle with, what they really want from life. So, you know, this book is for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 30s. Women are asking questions, they're wanting more from their life. So if you feel stuck in the same cycles, reacting in ways you don't fully understand, or struggling to move forward in the life you were meant to live, this book will help you break free. In The Living Without Limits, The Art of Becoming Fully Powerfully You, I talk about looking at limiting beliefs, looking at relationship patterns, looking at just the way we think and feel about ourselves and what holds us back. What are our hopes and fears? We really go into it. And this is going to be a trilogy of books. So this is just the first volume. We want to break free from fear, self-doubt, emotional patterns that keep us stuck, build genuine self-worth, confidence and self-acceptance. We want to be able to communicate clearly, assertively and without guilt. Set strong, healthy boundaries that protect our energy and well-being. Explore how your past has shaped your present. We really get into it. This is about gaining a lot of self-awareness and getting real with yourself and really finding out what it is that you want from life. I know you're going to love this book. It goes into the therapy process, really. It's obviously not a substitute for clinical therapy, but it does touch on lots of things that have turned up in the therapy room. So this is an insight into what goes on in a therapy room, really. What are the types of things that you might work through? So, super excited. Grab your copy from the link below.
So it was the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sway. It swayed.
Between the size of the problem and the size of the solution. It was definitely different for me. And also, I had 3 words that was just resonating in my head, which was determined, strong and resolute.
I'm just thinking that your own journey, your growth, probably was a big factor in what made that sway.
That's right.
Through your, you became stronger in yourself and more certain of yourself and your values and what you really wanted and what you didn't want, I guess.
And I think it got to a pivot point where I thought, you know what, I'm trying to be authentic and trying to help my clients be authentic, and I'm not actually being true to myself. So it was time.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Where we feel a bit of a imposter, I suppose. And I can imagine that how that would go against, because I like Maya Angelou's quote, we need to like who we are, like what we do and like how we do it.
Yes.
And so that was quite uncomfortable for you. It was beginning to get uncomfortable for you at the time.
Yeah, about, I think in my early 20s I trained to be a holistic therapist, a yoga teacher and a Reiki Master. And I've only just started to come back into those areas, having been in HR and health and safety for the time period. And I've started to teach Reiki and had a number of Reiki 1 clients and then who have now gone on to do Reiki 2. And at Reiki 2 you start to be able to send distant healing. So it's over time and space. It's really impressive. And when you attune to the different levels of Reiki, you've got a different connection to the universal source. And so you shed off a lot of unhelpful energy. And it means that it's easier then to help with your transition and your transformation, because you're naturally shedding those things that you don't need anymore. And those things can also be people as well. So you can change. What I often find is people then change their friendship groups, they change their social connections, and they can change their relationships also. And it then also generates people of like-minded energy to you as well. So
this has helped you personally as well.
Yeah. So although I've been a Reiki master for over 20 years and just working on Reiki on myself, giving treatments as and when needed, and when family and friends are distant and far away, I can send healing to them. When you actually teach it, I went through sort of like a real lot of meditations and deep thinking about the process and really connecting with that energy. And when you're a Reiki master and you're delivering Reiki teachings, you're supposed to prepare a Reiki manual and pass that on to your students, and there's a lineage from the source, from the original Azui teachers to yourself, so your students can track the lineage through. And writing that book was a real cathartic process, and it really sort of helped me decide now was the right time to end the marriage, because I was needing to shed that kind of energy and that person. So authentically teaching that Reiki meant that I had decisions to make, and move through. Yeah.
I think that any therapy that is born out of our own personal experience is powerful, isn't it? And like you say, you can do it authentically. You've walked the walk. You know what it feels like, and you know the benefits, I guess. A lot of this stuff was woo-woo, wasn't it? But there's a lot of scientific evidence now around yoga, meditation, because they measure the brain now, don't they? When yoga is called it means union, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah,
between mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, that's correct.
And there's a lot of scientific evidence around it now, isn't there? And Reiki is really popular treatment now, and you've experienced that yourself.
Yeah, so I teach it. So and this is what makes my plan so different, because I've got the NLP background, I've got the corporate background, and the hypnosis, etc. But I can also send distance healing to my clients. So I work a lot online, and I can still send distance healing to the individual.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so it just helps them with their transformation. I've got a number of clients who, add Reiki into their package.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let me read this testimonial. This is just one of some of the testimonials on your website, which I thought was really lovely. So it says, it's hard to put into words the power of that session. Nicola was expert enough to help me move past my invisible hurdles. Nicola has taken me past those barriers and moved me further than the previous 12 months of coaching. And the breakthrough day was hugely liberating. We'll talk a little bit more about the breakthrough day. Nicola is a kind and patient coach, and she made me feel completely safe, gentle in approach. With her expert guidance, she helped me reframe things that I hadn't even realised were there. And she goes on to say that, she highly recommends you. Just to say that you are hugely qualified, and you spent many years in senior management and working with management teams and leadership coach, and
that's right.
Sort of working with employers and how to get the best out of employees, and so a lot of interpersonal stuff there as well. But yeah, the benefits then for the breakthrough day. Tell us a little bit about that, because that sounds hugely beneficial. It's like a full day, an intense kind of a thing.
It is. So, I just love breakthrough days. They're just such a good way of getting right into the root of the problem and solving it at source. If we compare it to, I'm not a computer programmer, so if you think about like files in your hard drive that you've been carrying around and they sit there, and then you need to defrag your computer from time to time, don't you, to clear it all up and put things in better order. A breakthrough day is almost equivalent to something like that. So, when we've got an issue and we haven't solved it, we keep bringing that file up, and we keep reading that file, and then we close the file and we put it back, and it's still there, and we'll get that file out again and read it again. So as
these
we do
files, let me just make sure that I have to simplify it in my little brain. So the files would be maybe fears that we've picked up along the way.
Memories of events, traumas.
And what we think about ourselves, limiting beliefs. So they'd be all in these little files in our brain. I can't do this. For instance, people struggling with weight loss, really. Or I can remember when I started exercising, there was a point where, because I hadn't exercised for years, for decades, and but for health reasons, I knew that I needed to start doing it. This is only sort of 3 or 4 years ago. And there was a point where, and I've said this before on the podcast, where I said, I'm no longer a person trying to be more fit and healthy and going to the gym. I'm trying to go to the gym. I'm a person that goes to the gym.
Yes.
I'm a person that is fit and healthy.
It became your identity.
Yeah, and that was just by keep turning up.
Yeah.
Just keep turning up.
Yeah.
And then one day you say, well, yeah, I am. I've been doing it for a few years now, so yeah, you know, and so that file in my brain changed.
Yes.
And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah, so that might be anything, it could be anything. But interestingly, you know, the word try is just an excuse for failure.
Tell me more.
So when you think about trying, you have not decided whether you're going to pass or you're going to fail. So like what you've just said, you said, I'm now a person that goes to the gym. So you've immediately just changed your identity. There's no try about it.
Yeah.
Did Yoda say, do or do not, there is no try?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, so that can be profound. Yeah, if you're holding on to try, then you're probably holding on to failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to make a mistake along the way.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it doesn't matter if that then changes.
Yeah.
That might change along that journey, a decision that you make that worked
Yeah.
a year or two ago. You might want to change it. You might want to, and that doesn't mean that it was the wrong thing. It means it was just a stepping stone or whatever else.
Yeah.
You know, you can take the pressure off yourself a bit, can't you, in order to relay some of those fears of failure and looking stupid or whatever it might be, being judged.
That's it. So there's so many things. My brain's just firing in all different directions. I've got so much to say about that. But so breakthrough days. So breakthrough days are delivered in one day online. And we have already had a meeting, and I've already tasked you to write about yourself. So that's about telling me about what those files are in your filing system that you want to get rid of and that you're constantly reading and they're not shifting. And you don't have to over disclose anything. This is not about you going deep into traumas or anything like that. This is just giving me headline details, and I don't need to know the details. What I'll do with you will work regardless whether I know what the content is. Don't need to know the content. So that gives people a lot of safety around privacy. So that helps them to internalise what's going on and actually realise what they want to get rid of without having to mask it for being able to explain anything to a counsellor or anybody else.
Right.
Okay.
So you look at the symptoms of what they're experiencing on a daily basis?
Not necessarily. We're looking at what they want to achieve instead.
Okay. Yeah.
So then they give me that essay and then I'll write their plan. And I'll have discovered what their map of the world is, and so I know that I'm doing a bespoke plan for them. And I'll include different techniques with NLP, which could be something like a Cartesian coordinates, which is a really mathematical confusion of knots and double negatives. And it gets you thinking okay, wow, what just happened? And again, that's for changing the neurology, to just get yourself out of that straightforward path that you've always taken your thoughts through. And then there's different techniques like a timeline therapy technique, which is just incredible. That looks at fear, anger, sadness, hurt and guilt, and it takes you back along your timeline. It's a little bit hypnotic, and it frees off those emotions and lets you learn a lesson, and you can carry that forward then.
They're real stuck emotions, aren't they?
They are. They are.
You get stuck there.
Yes.
With those, don't you, really?
And that's really where the transformation happens, because if you're living in fear and suddenly you realise you don't need to, you're just shedding all of that stuff off that you don't need, and then you're just free then. You're just liberated. And, we have breaks and everything like that because the body needs refreshment. And then we'll come back and do certain things like maybe goal setting. We look at values, so I'll really go deep into people's values. Values is a really insightful experience to go through. If you've never gone through your values, we can do life values, career values, or relationship values. And it's a really useful process because you actually get to know yourself on a deeper level. Most people actually don't.
That might be a bit alien, actually, might it? When you ask somebody, what are your values? How would you help people find their values, I guess?
So it's an NLP technique that we use to get there. And it's very different from anything that anybody's probably experienced by trying to elicit someone's values. It gets straight into there. Yeah, it's very good. And after we've done that, then we carry on doing the work of the day, and then we revert back to what those values are to see if they've changed with the work that we've done, because that's very insightful as well, because sometimes there's a value conflict. For example, I worked with a lady who was vegan, and she was looking for a new job, and a perfect ideal job came up, but it was in an abattoir. So obviously there was a conflict for her. She couldn't take that job, no matter how much the salary was or how convenient it was. It just wasn't a job that she could take.
Right.
So it's just, we can sometimes live in conflict with our values, and deep inside, and that's why, from an employer perspective, employee engagement is really important to have your company values, but also your individual values matching them. So recruitment-wise and advertising-wise, it's a really good process to go through to match your values. So if you're aware of them, it can be transformative just in itself. But on the breakthrough day, when you look at that, that's when people can realise those inner conflicts exist, and then we can action plan and work out what they want to do about it. So that you can start to live in congruency with your own values.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that our conditioning, that's what I was hearing there, that we're kind of conditioned to go for the job, for that great salary, it's convenient, all those things. We're conditioned to go for those things, and we're not really taught to consider values, really, because the picture of success is get the nice car, get the house, go on a nice holiday. Yeah. That's the picture of success, isn't it? So values aren't really, we don't really receive that message. We don't get that email, do we, that this is a thing? No.
And the idea of success, we're led to believe we all should have the idea of success, as you just described, but actually, really? Is it okay to have a different idea of success? Is success waking up feeling happy?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because what we do know is people who have lots of money are not necessarily happy.
Exactly.
And they do still have anxiety, depression, and all those things, and the fears, the same as normal folk experience. Yeah. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? What is your picture of success? What is really important to you? Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's the real work, isn't it? That's the real question.
And that's where the transformation happens, because then when you've started to make yourself aware of what your values are, make yourself aware if there's any conflicts in those things, then you can decide if you're wanting to pursue your values or not. You can always stay put. Everyone can stay put if they want to, but there are ways of succeeding if you want to move forward. And then we end the day with that kind of planning, if they've got some real insights about what they want to do going forward from the lessons that they've just learned about themselves and the change that they've just created in themselves. And then we can do some hypnosis to embed those more deeply into the unconscious mind. And then it's followed up a couple of weeks later with a coaching session, which is to mop up anything that's lingering, but actually it's really to talk about the success that they've had.
And then, so that bit, the hypnosis bit, it helps the longevity of it.
Yes,
it helps them to go forward and continue with, consolidate everything that they've learned and been through. What differences do you witness? What do you see in people the before and after, if you like?
So definitely worry reduces, because the understanding that worry is, it's kind of pointless energy waste, isn't it? Because you are anticipating a negative outcome generally that hasn't happened. So at the point in time you're worrying about it, there's actually nothing to worry about. They're just some consequences that may or may not happen in the future. So that shifts for people. They say, I don't seem to worry about that anymore. They seem to make more congruent decisions about what they want. You often hear at the start of the conversation, part of me wants to do something and the other part of me wants to do something else. And so one of those things I do is to integrate those two parts together to find out what the common cause is for both of those parts. And so then the language that they use afterwards is then, something came up and I just decided I did such and such and I didn't even think about it. Yeah. Because the part of me and the part of me that weren't aligned are suddenly now aligned, because they've both got the same higher goal, the greatest achievement that they've got in mind, which is ultimately happiness, success, or whatever that looks like. So you're trying to achieve it from both of those parts, but you think that they're actually two separate things and they're not.
Yeah. And the relief that brings, I guess, that, actually, no, this is what I really want, and the external noise the volume has been turned down, really.
Exactly.
That, what somebody else wants or needs, it's not the same for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm not doing well, or just because my life doesn't look the same as the next person. It's not what I really want. Yeah. What keeps you well? What are your sort of daily practices? You were talking about Reiki.
Yeah.
That you use that personally as well. Yeah. What else? What are your daily practices that's important for, we talk about the 6 pillars on the podcast, sort of the reducing stress, exercise, nutrition, sleep, and addictive substances and healthy relationships. So tell us a bit about, how do you stay well and your picture of happiness, I guess.
So I practice yoga. I do so I look after my physical body. This is where my soul lives. So I look after my body with good nutrition and exercise and sleep. And I meditate. I take time away to think, because I am an introvert. And when I say that, I don't mean like I'm not comfortable in crowds or anything like that. That's totally not what introversion is about. I replenish my batteries by being alone. Some people are extrovert and they replenish their batteries by being around people. That's not me. So it's important for me to have time on my own. And I meditate and I practice Reiki, and I practice a lot of my NLP teachings. So, and there's a really nice principle in Reiki, which is just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Earn your living honestly, and be kind to everybody today.
That's nice and simple, isn't it? Yeah. That would be a lovely world we would live in, And that's can see that's quite moving for you. What are you thinking, if you don't mind sharing with us? Yeah,
it's got me through the last couple of months, definitely, for sure, and it's been so transformating when I explain it to people who do Reiki with me. It really hits them.
Yeah, that's so simplistic. That's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
We complicate things, don't we, so much?
We do.
When the feeling connected with others, being kind to others, it's absolutely, that's fine. Don't worry that you're real.
Yeah.
That's what happens, isn't it, when you talk about real things? So don't worry about that at all. But I was thinking that, when we're kind to each other and we're really aware of our impact on each other and things like that, it's so important for our happiness. And when you think about the wider picture and what's going on in the world at the minute as well, it's a bit bonkers, isn't it?
Well, I don't actually know what's going on in the world.
I don't watch a lot of the news, but of course, I've just seen the snippets of the division, really, and the separation and the opposite to feeling connected with one another, and that the people don't feel safe, and all the anxiety.
So if we all followed the Reiki principles that I've just described, the world would be a much better place. And so I choose quite determined that the outside world doesn't come in. So I used to watch the news. I used to have the Sky Alert on my phone all the time, and I was drawn into all that negative press. And that stopped after I did my own breakthrough day. I didn't want to know about it. I didn't need to know about it. And I'm in my own little happy bubble. And, you asked me a question about what I do to keep myself well. Definitely not having the news interfering in my wellness is incredibly important to me.
I'm with you on that one. I'm not particularly political. I speak out.
Yeah.
I speak out where I can. If I see an injustice anywhere, then I will absolutely do that. but I arrived here about 15 minutes earlier, and I was down in reception, and it had the news on, and it was really uncomfortable. Because I don't listen to it. I just find it, because I feel that I can't do much about it.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to do something different, you know, for those that do have more of a political voice. And I've seen on Instagram some of the women that are really finding their voice at the minute, which I am loving that there. You know, women are really finding their voice, and they're angry about what's happening. And women want, what we know is women want to be heard.
Yeah.
And it's a basic human need, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a basic human right, I believe, that...
Precisely.
Yeah, so there's all that going on, isn't there? But I it hurts my soul.
Yes.
When I'm hearing what's going on in the world, really.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I choose not to listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the breakthrough days are really, really intense. You don't expect to, like, you know, go and do a lot of activity afterwards, because you'll have gone through a process, and you kind of need to sleep. People report having quite visual dreams afterwards, and then the transformations can be quick. Like certain reality checks can happen immediately. Like, I call them insights that they can immediately put into practice, because they're just congruent straight away as soon as they've been appreciated. And then other ones can take a little bit of time. So my breakthrough day was back in 2023, and I would say that I've been working on all of my little bits since then. So I've been aware of them, but building up the courage, or being aware of them and putting strategies in place, being aware of them and making plans for them to finally come to fruition and flourish. So, yeah. I
think that's important. It's a process, isn't it?
It is.
You know, these limiting beliefs and like files in our brain, as you say, they've been there a long time.
They have, yep.
And so, you know, your work is really shaking that up.
Yes.
And so it is a process, isn't it? And sometimes it does feel like 2 steps forward and 3 back, you know, and we still have, everybody does, you know, an odd day or two where we feel worried, or imposter syndrome, or you know, we've got families that there might be stuff going on. You know, we're navigating real life as well through this, aren't we? So
we are.
It's about how we manage all that when we're in the trenches, and how we get through those bits. It's easy on the days where everything seems okay. You know, it's a whole different ball game, isn't it? But I think that when we've got go-to techniques, you know, such as NLP, you know, in your Reiki and stuff like that, that's when we really need to double down on that stuff, don't we? And sort of say, okay, hold on tight.
Yeah.
We're in for a few days, and it's sometimes just accepting that, isn't it? That, okay, it'll pass, but we're in for a few days of just feeling a bit off, you know, where, like I say, we might be worrying a bit too much, or there might, when you really reflect on it, you'll say, well, that was that, there is that going on, and there is that. There will be a few things, won't there, that's triggered it potentially.
I mean, definitely there's certain things that you've talked about there that I cover on my work with people, is understanding your locus of control. There's no point in worrying about things that you can't do anything about. For example, the news, a great example. There's no point knowing it if you can't change anything about it. And, you know, in our own circles, there's a lot of stuff that we know and we worry about that we don't have any control over. But when you know that you can take control over it, you've got a choice. Do you want to take control over it, or do you want to stay worrying about it?
I think that's quite a powerful note to end on, actually. I'm not a religious person, but I quite like the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
Grant me the courage to change the things I can, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think, like I say, and that's what you've been talking about today, we can simplify things sometimes, can't we? But
And flexibility is a key as well. There's 14 presuppositions of NLP, and flexibility is one of them. If you've got a rigid mindset, you're going to struggle. But if you can be flexible about the things that you think about and the things that you do, and if you're being a human doing as well as being a human being, then you can allow that reflection to happen, that flexibility, and you will lead a lot happier life. Flexibility is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. In yoga as well.
Well, flexibility in yoga is the outcome. Flexibility is not the aim.
Wow. Yeah.
The yoga postures are only to allow your brain to allow your body to sit for meditation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
Well, what a fascinating conversation. I've really loved talking to you today and hearing a bit more about your story, and thank you for being so honest with us. You know, that's very recent. You know, and thank you for being so real about that. You know, people will relate to it. There's no doubt about it. You know, we do, don't we? We go through seasons in life.
Yes.
And it's not always a bed of roses, but really appreciate you being here today. And, you know, fabulous work. Keep doing what you're doing. And, wish you all the best, really. I'm sure that you'll go and continue to grow and affect lives, really, and affect others to grow in a similar way. So good for you.
Thank you very much.
Fabulous.
Great talking to you. Thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in today, and another great conversation. We will be talking to another guest next week. We've got some fabulous guests coming up, so do join us again next week.